In this video, I'm going to tell you exactly how much I've made in my first 3 months of doing Turo, but I'm also going to break down all the expenses, as well as any mistakes that I've done or I've seen other people do online, that if you don't know what you're doing could cost you a lot of money. The first mistake is buying an unprofitable car or a brand new car to rent out. Now I know this might sound like common sense, but cars do depreciate nearly 20% in their very first year, and even more if one of your renters, heaven forbid, gets into an accident in your car. There are so many people in my market, in my area, that I see renting their cars out for $40 to $50 a day for 2022 and 2023 cars, who clearly just don't run their numbers or don't know how to make Turo profitable. So let's say you buy a brand new car for $25,000. In depreciation for the first year, you're losing $400 per month. Now let's just be super basic and throw on the car insurance as another expense. That's another $100 a month, totaling your expenses at $6,200 a year just down the drain. And like I said, at a price point of $50 a day on one of these brand new cars, Turo estimates you're only going to make about $7 grand a year. So essentially you take home almost nothing. I don't recommend buying a brand new car, but if you do, definitely do not sell yourself short, which gets me into my next point. Do not lowball yourself, and certainly please do not use Turo's recommended daily price feature. It is so bad. It is so freaking bad. They will run your car to the ground if you use that feature. Their main goal with that feature is to get you to rent your car out as cheap as possible so they can attract more customers. But this feature is really bad. My 2018 Toyota Corolla, its recommended price was $32 a day, and right now that same car is renting for $46 a day, so $14 higher, and I have no problem renting the car out. Not only is it not profitable, but it's kind of also an asshole move to put your 2022 Prius for $32 a day. It kind of worsens the market for everybody. But that being said, if you do see a lot of people renting out their cars for really cheap in your area, that doesn't mean you should try and compete with them, because what's going to happen is those cars will get booked first. Those cars will more than likely go to some maybe lower class people, and then eventually your car will be booked as well. So don't cave in and don't lowball yourself because other people are. The third mistake that people have made, including myself, I'll tell you in a second, is not pre-documenting the car as much as you should. Now when you go to start a trip on Turo, it's going to ask you to take 10 to 15 photos. You should really be taking 50 to even 100 photos before and after the trip. Understand that Turo is not there to help you, but they will cover you for anything that you document. As in, even if there's something that's glaringly obvious that a guest did or needs to pay for or whatever, if there's no pictures to prove it, you're absolutely screwed. I had an experience last month where when I did the pre-trip photos, I took what I thought was a bunch of photos, but we didn't take a picture of the actual speedometer with the fuel gauge when the car was on. The car was off. I don't know how I did that, but basically I gave him a full tank of gas. When he returned the car, there was a gas light on, so like $40 worth of gas. Because I didn't have a picture that I took within 24 hours of the trip that showed that the fuel gauge was completely full, I didn't get any of it covered. And in fact, if you make a claim like that and you don't have pictures, they can even charge you, which is just crazy. I know, that is insane. But the point is, you want to take plenty of photos. Anything that there's no picture of is not going to be covered. You know, flip open your mirrors, take pictures of your mirrors, every ins and outs of the car, the tire rims, the tires themselves, your trunk, gas, pretty much anything that someone could damage, you want to take a picture of. And do not reuse photos from your previous trip. Again, they're really stingy and it needs to be within 24 hours of your trip. You can't have one trip end and then just take the photos, the post-trip photos from your last trip, and even if it's not driven in between, you can't just use that again. It needs to be taken every single time. Mistake number 4 is not using a GPS tracker. Let's say someone doesn't return the car on time and they're not giving you any sort of answer. You're trying to see, you know, hey, are you coming? They don't text you back. It doesn't matter if they are 1 day late or 2 weeks late. Turo is only going to pay you for 1 day. Let's say you're charging $50 a day for your car. They're only going to pay you up to $50 for that person being late, regardless of how late they are. If you do have a GPS tracker, you can do a SelfRepo. So just go, you can see exactly where your car is, you know, from your computer. I recommend Bouncy. That's what I use. I'll leave the link in the description. But as long as you have an extra key, go get your car, come back, and you can even charge them a SelfRepo fee. I think it's $150. So that's a hell of a lot better than just waiting for them to bring it back and then just getting 1 day. Now, obviously, don't go and SelfRepo the car if they're 3 hours late. You know, like, use common sense. If it's several days or even, you know, 24 hours, that's fine as well. If you're not getting a response, then just inform Turo that you're going to do a self-repo. Mistake number 5 is thinking that this is just going to be passive income. It sort of is, but it's pretty far from just passive income. Holding stocks is passive income. Turo, you have to deliver the car and Uber home or have someone pick you up. You have to talk to customers, deal with them, deal with problem solving. Your guest gets into an accident. That's an extremely time-consuming process. Cleaning the car, getting it detailed, obviously taking all the photos before and after. It's not completely passive. Mistake number 6 is not being properly insured. Now, if you do get into an accident, you don't want your own insurance involved in the first place. The goal is to always use Turo insurance, which you pay for out of a percentage of your daily trip price. I'm on the 75-25 plan, I'm pretty sure, which is just insurance with a deductible of $500. This all comes down to personal preference. If you want to give up more of your trip price for more insurance, I believe there's a 60-40 split. This obviously takes a lot more of your trip price, but gives you a much lower deductible. Vice versa, there's a 90-10 split with a lot higher of a deductible. Do at least understand which plan you're using in case someone does get into an accident. Now, you could double insure. However, I don't recommend double insuring if you only have one or even a few cars. This is something that only makes a lot of sense if you have an entire fleet. And my very last mistake is being too nice and not treating this like a business. If your guest is multiple hours late to return the car, did they leave you with half a tank of gas when you gave them the car with a full tank of gas? Did they drive 50 miles over their allowed limit? This is where you would charge them for that. If you went to a in-person car rental service, you drive over your limit, are they just gonna be like, well, you know, he was a good guest, I'm not gonna charge him? No, your ass is getting an invoice. They're 100% gonna make you cough up that money. Recently, I had a guest that was 1 hour late to pick up the car, 1 hour late to drop off the car, and this does happen almost every single time, so it's something you're gonna have to get used to. It's really not that big of a deal, but I noticed when he returned the car that there was a bit of gas missing. It's always a lot easier to start with a full tank of gas, that way I could just fill it back up to full if they didn't return it, and it's a lot easier to just tell. So that's exactly what I did. I went to a gas, first I took pictures of the car, the gas, everything like that, the mileage, drove to a gas station, filled up with gas, and it was $9. Now, you might say that's extremely petty because I did charge him for the $9. Now, granted, maybe if he wasn't an hour late to the pickup and the return, maybe I would have been a tad more lenient, but again, what would an in-person car rental business do? They would absolutely charge you for it. So again, I did, and he rated me 4 stars, so he can, if you're watching this video, you can like come suck on my ballsack. But I don't mean to be just like a cold-hearted monster that is just looking for every little thing you can charge your customer for, because that's a quick way, first of all, that's a quick way to get kicked off the platform if you're like that. Now, a good example is I had a trip that I just finished yesterday where, now I don't smoke, but I found a lighter inside the car after I was taking the post-trip photos. There was no signs of smell of either weed or cigarettes inside the car, and I don't actually think he smoked. There was no holes or anything like that. And more than likely, he probably smoked outside the car and then just came back in and, you know, happened to leave the lighter there. Now, the smoking charge is $250. This is not something to just throw around lightly. So in this situation, absolutely not, even though I could have charged him because a lighter would be enough proof to Turo to say, hey, this guy probably smoked in my car. I could have done that. It's like you can't look for every single reason to charge. Like that's just not fair. Seeing something like a lighter in your car and there's no signs of smell or anything like that, there would be no detailing, there would be no reason for me to collect that money. It doesn't mean just charge everybody willy-nilly. You don't want to overplay a situation and screw somebody over who doesn't actually deserve it. So far in 2.5 months of doing Turo, my total earnings right now are $1,420. I'll throw the screenshot up. I'm sitting at a 4.86 rating on my car. Now, if we count my expenses, I would guess I've probably spent maybe $30 on car washes, plus I pay $105 a month for car insurance. Plus there was the $40 I had to eat when that dick left me with the fuel light on my car. So in total, I have made $1,088 profit, $435.20 per month so far in profit.